What's up everyone, this is Vlad and today we are exposing Hawas Sapphire, and this is a collaboration between FB Fragrance and Rasasi. This fragrance was marketed heavily as a safe but in the same time unique creation. So let's break it down and see if this fragrance is truly unique and if it's actually worth your money or not. And right on the first spray you get a very distinctive guava note. It is fresh, it's slightly sweet, but don't expect a super juicy or sickling sweet tropical blast. It's much drier and more restrained than I expected. And as the guava settles down, you slowly start to get in a blackcurrant note. And what that blackcurrant does, it kind of gives this fruitiness, a bit of tanginess, and I do like that. But despite the marketing claiming this fragrance being very unique, within the first 15 minutes, this fragrance takes a very familiar turn. You start getting in a DNA very reminiscent to Ex Nihilo Blue Talisman. It's a pleasant fragrance. I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but if you were expected a completely unique and revolutionary fragrance, I would say this is not it, and in my opinion, if you do own already a clone of Blue Talisman, this one might actually be redundant. And as we move into the dry down of this fragrance, the Blue Talisman DNA still remains there, and it's being anchored by a very heavy musk. And this is where my main critique comes in for this fragrance. The musk quality, as expected, is not gonna be top tier, but being a poor quality musk makes the fragrance very powdery, and it does give it a synthetic feeling because of that powdery harshness. And combining that with the sweetness from the tonka bean, from what I experienced, if you go heavier with the sprays, you might get a little bit nauseous. Performance-wise, this fragrance delivers a good projection for the first 2 hours, and longevity-wise is pretty good as well, regardless of what I've seen on other reviews. I've got from this fragrance about 8 hours, and from a fragrance like this, it's a very good performance in my opinion. And I think this is ideal for spring, summer evenings and early autumn. And you could also wear this on the summer days, but I would go a bit less on the sprays. As I said, it does feel like a sweeter and more powdery Blue Talisman DNA. And before we go into my final thoughts, if you've enjoyed the video so far, it will help me greatly to hit that like button and also take in consideration subscribing to the channel and be part of a fragrance enthusiastic community where we say things as they are. So final thoughts for this Rasasi release. I think FB Fragrance learned from other influencers' mistakes. It is a safe scent profile. It's not gonna be anything offensive. It kind of like tries to be a little bit of a crowd pleaser. The performance of this fragrance on my skin was actually very good, and the fragrance has decent versatility. On the downside, if they would have taken the opportunity to use a perfumer for this fragrance, I think the blend would have been a lot smoother and the musk on the dry down wouldn't have been so overwhelming. The collaboration with Rasasi, in my opinion, it's also a little bit of a downside because I think they already released another 1 or 2 fragrances since this one was released. So it's probably gonna get lost into a multitude of new releases from Rasasi. Price point currently it sits at around £40, and in my opinion it's a bit high for what it is. You should definitely wait until this one is gonna hit discounters. As I said, Rasasi releases a lot of fragrances lately, so this one is probably gonna go in a few months quite a bit down in price. But for £30, this should be absolutely fine. So my overall rating for this fragrance is a 7 out of 10. Not bad, but nothing that is gonna make you stand out either, and in the same time I think it had the potential to be an 8.5 out of 10 with a smoother, better blend and maybe a collaboration with a house that doesn't really release so many fragrances. But if you've experienced this fragrance so far, I'm very curious what was your experience with it. Thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the comments.